Hello, 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 and welcome to you, everybody. Thank you for your patience as we just finalise getting ready for this evening. It is absolutely awesome to see so many people on this evening. Wow, people from all over the world, across Queensland, across Australia, South Africa, Spain. Wow, Sydney, Gold Coast. It is awesome to have you all here. And obviously you are all here for a reason. You are all interested in health and well-being, hydration, water, and living a healthy, life. And water, of course, is something that is absolutely so important. Without water, let's face it, we cannot maintain our health and even life if we don't have it for long enough. So when you guys all registered, I asked you all a question, and I asked you what sort of water you are currently drinking. So just out of interest for everybody on the call tonight, this is the different types of water that people are using: tap water, filtered water, rainwater, tap water from a filter jug, bottled water, a Philips water jug, water from Pack and Save, so bottled water, more tap water, commercially filtered water, tank water and lemon water, tap bottled boiled teas, filtered tap, filtered tank, filtered puree water, spring water, town water, more tap water, tap, sometimes alkaline water, Zazen filtered tank water, Sizzle hydrogenated filtered town water, tap water, reverse osmosis, and of course some people are on the good hydrogen water that we're going to be talking about this evening as well, and that Nathan will be demonstrating for us. So for whatever reason you are on this evening, a huge big welcome to you. And I'm really excited to be introducing our absolutely amazing naturopath, nutritionist and herbalist, Nathan Davis, this evening. So Nathan has a triple degree, as I said, in naturopathy, herbal medicine and nutrition. He is an avid researcher. When he researches something, he really researches the research to the point where he spends hours and dozens of hours researching, and he will not actually endorse something or recommend it to his patients or co-workers until he absolutely knows for sure that he has done all the scientific research around whatever it is that he is seeking information on. So anybody who knows Nathan knows that if he's done the research, they're confident with the product that he's researched. So tonight we have Nathan is set up in his kitchen with all of his equipment ready. So are you there, Nathan? Awesome. Oh, wow, you've got that set up nicely, Nathan. So just to give you a quick rundown, hello and welcome to you, Nathan. So what Nathan is going to cover tonight, we're going to talk about why he is so passionate about what he's sharing tonight. He's going to do some incredible demos with hydrogen meters and tests and H2 drops, and he's going to talk about oxidation in the body, and he's going to do an iodine test. He's going to talk about other uses with some of the other waters other than the drinking water. He's going to do a chlorine test, a stomach pH test. He's going to talk about the pre-filters, and he's going to talk about nutrients and greens and the absorption in the body. And then we're going to have a question and answer as well. So there's a chat box there. Thank you so much to everybody for interacting in the chat box. Please do pop down any questions that you might currently already have or that come to mind whilst Nathan is sharing. So Nathan, I'm going to mute myself and the camera, and I'm going to hand over to you. So once again, thank you so much for coming on this evening.
As a naturopath for over a decade now, I'm so fortunate to be practicing with psychologists, chiropractors, kinesiologists, naturopaths, and medical doctors. And I've just learned so much from all the other practitioners, and we're all an amazing team. So I love the ability to pull knowledge. And one big thing that we notice from our patients that you can sort of summarize is that most people, the conditions that they come in from is usually gut-related, inflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance. These are the main areas and toxins that lead people to ill health. And I got sick of just treating symptoms, even with just nutrients I got sick of treating symptoms. Eventually, I came across a way to do it better. Changing the environment someone lives in and the environment of their body means that the reoccurring mistakes and reoccurring the disease profiles is not going to happen because you made a change. You didn't just take a supplement for a while. You said, okay, that's enough. I don't want to have the condition I've got anymore, and I want to be preventative. And so I really believe our mindset and our environment that we live in, the food we eat, is the most important things that we need to be focusing on individually and for our family. So this is going to be more of a visual rather than a scientific. I love all the science, but not everyone does. But I want to read a quick snippet just to give you a more comprehensive view of just how important this water is, because there's something really special inside it. So this is a study from the Melinda University, and they were talking about the important effects of molecular hydrogen. They said molecular hydrogen is extremely unique since it has the capability to act at the cellular level. It can cross the blood-brain barrier, enter our mitochondria, and even has the ability to translocate to the nucleus under certain conditions. And so studies have shown that hydrogen exerts antioxidant, basically anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, cytoprotective properties that are beneficial to us. Now, some of the other strategies this is used for is for cardiovascular system, cerebral vascular, cancer, metabolic, respiratory diseases, and many others. So that's just from one molecule inside this amazing water. So the first thing I would like to show you is what is molecular hydrogen. To give you a bit of a visual, the best way I like to do it is to show you what our body being toxic is like in the first place. Now I'm going to get tap water. They're the same, about 50 ml of each. Now, for the example, I'm going to use iodine because iodine is an oxidant. That's how it kills bacteria when we cut ourselves. We put it on our skin and it basically kills whatever's on there. And it does this through oxidation and other mechanisms. So life, stress, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Life is inflammation, oxidative stress. And imagine your body looking like this inside. This is all of our inflammation, oxidative stress on a daily basis that we make. And because we're made up of 70% water, you can imagine that's what we're living in. And the better we can clean that, the better all of our systems are going to be long-term healthy. So let's top that up with just plain tap water. So that's now up to the 150 ml mark. And you can see it's diluted it, but it's still there. And essentially that's what we drink water for, so our kidneys can filter our blood and make urine and get rid of it. So watch what happens when I use this machine to take that same tap water, filter it, and then run it through an amazing process called electrolysis, where a few magical things happen. It splits the water molecules apart, making this molecular hydrogen I spoke to you about in studies. So even with less water, you can see that it's completely neutralized. the oxidant, the iodine. And so that's a bit of a visual. The more you drink water in general, you dilute toxins, but what if you could reverse the oxidative stress and inflammation? Wouldn't you rather have a body full of this than this? And so for me, that was a big eye-opener, that rather than be taking all these antioxidant supplements, now I could have someone drink water and virtually do something very similar and be able to provide their body with a more amazing environment to sustain life. So then I thought, well, I wonder if, I go to the supermarket and I buy alkaline water, does that do the same thing? So again, let's get the tap water. We'll put the same 10 drops in of the iodine. So we can see that it looked the same as before. And again, it's a new bottle. And it's also up to that 150 ml line. And again, I've added more in there than the Kangen water, which is electrolyzed reduced water. And you can see that it wasn't able to neutralize it either. It just diluted it. And so that's probably the best visual I can show you, rather than going into too much science as to what actually happens when you're drinking that water. I want to do something similar. I want to show you using these H2 blue drops, which you can buy yourself and replicate the same test I'm doing. So we'll get tap water. Actually, tap water. And the Kangen water, which I guess the scientific name is electrolyzed reduced water. Reduced meaning that it's able to give away electrons, whereas I'll demonstrate shortly that tap water is, and the alkaline water is oxidizing water. So tap water, the Kangen water. So this is another form of oxidant. So imagine you've done a huge detox, you spent all this money getting your body clean, you're eating organic vegetables and doing everything perfectly, and then along comes stress and inflammation. Now, if this stays blue, it means there is no molecular hydrogen able to reverse the effects. The molecular hydrogen is able to change the structure of this molecule, methylene blue, so it doesn't reflect the blue. And just think of that as the ability to remove stress. So you see here that stress that we introduce into the body is still there even with the alkaline water, but with the Kangen water, we have a much better ability to deal with that oxidant. It's another good visual to show you the benefits that you can get daily drinking this water. So for me, I have to go a step further and spend quite a lot of money on equipment just to see the difference between all the different types of water. And that's what this device is. It detects molecular hydrogen. So again, let's get a sample of tap water, the alkaline water, and the Kangen water. we've got tap. We've got Kangen water, and then we'll do the alkaline water. I'm not sure if you can see that, but you can even see the bubbles in there, and that's the undissolved molecular hydrogen, which will dissipate in like 30 seconds. But it's the dissolved molecular hydrogen that we want to see stay in there. I've had a friend who had one of those molecular hydrogen machines that you just push a button and you add water to it and it bubbles up and it looks fancy. And it was producing a lot of either oxygen or undissolved molecular hydrogen. But then when I used this to check if it was even making molecular hydrogen, nothing showed up. So the first one was tap water. And you can see there's 0 molecular hydrogen. And you can see the Kangen water. 15, or 14, 80, 15. So this is 1.5 parts per million. Basically, most of the studies show that if you're hitting that mark, it's very therapeutic. So you can basically replicate what the studies are showing. There's a lot of machines out there that cannot make that much. In fact, when using the hydrogen blue drops, it gets about 2.6 parts per million. This one doesn't go up that high, so we can't see it. And finally, we go to the alkaline water, which is again 0. But previously, before they even realized how this machine worked, everyone spoke about the pH, which our tap water is about neutral of 7. You can see the Kangen is around 10. And here's a chart that sort of shows you which is which. So if we look at tap water, it's around neutral, 7. The Kangen water, around 10. And the alkaline water, around 9. So who here would think there's any difference between the alkaline water and the Kangen electrolyzed reduced water? Because when we click this button, we're using 9.5. And if that's also 9, isn't that the same? We've just demonstrated that there's no molecular hydrogen, all of those benefits. Actually, there's about 1,000 different publications, 60 human studies, and about 170 combined human and animal diseases shown to get benefits from this molecular hydrogen. So we've shown that it's only in the Kangen water, it's not in tap water, and it's not in this alkaline water. But if we didn't want that benefit for whatever reason, what happens if we're just drinking normal tap water? So again, this is an ORP device. It's looking at either oxidation, like when you cut an apple in half and it goes brown, that's our cells being damaged. Or is it protective? So it's able to reduce, give away electrons, act like an antioxidant, and stop the oxidation. So this chart here, you can see that the more positive the reading, the faster we're killing cells and oxidizing them. The more negative the water, the more that's able to counteract the inflammation. If we pop that in the tap water, it's about 440, which is kind of similar to the 300 that this chart says. It'll depend on where you live.
Not now. Have you turned off the bread maker?
We go to the alkaline water. And because they've at least filtered it and removed a whole bunch of chloride, chloroamines, trihalomethanes, it's a little bit better. It's around 240, but that's a positive. We go to the Kangen water, and all of a sudden you see it's around negative 500. And so that's taken tap water from positive 400 all the way to negative 500, negative almost 600. Usually when you're pouring this really slowly and fresh, it gets around negative 800. Either way, just amazing that this water can do all of these things that we've discussed so far. There you go, just about to hit negative 600. So in summary for those tests, it's really the molecular hydrogen that is the main thing that does all this magic. But it's not just molecular hydrogen alone, because you can get that in other forms. There's a lot of studies I've been reading that compared, for plants, for example, they were showing how what happens when you add molecular hydrogen to plants, but then you use molecular hydrogen in water that's like from the electrolyzed reduced water, rather than using a hydrogen tablet. Was there any difference? And there was more benefits when you had the molecular hydrogen in a water that was electrolyzed reduced water. And so there's like a synergistic effect between them. Virtually all of the minerals that's in our water, they're usually bound onto something. It could be like calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate. And while they're attached to that carbonate, of course we absorb them, but if you can break that bond and just have an ionic form like pure magnesium, not attached to anything else, we absorb that far better. So any minerals running through this machine is being broken down and restructured into that single ionic state. And we absorb that far, far better. Now, that's the other thing about filtering. In here, it has a filter. It does all the basics. It's got a combination of calcium and activated charcoal, which you'll find in most under the sink filters. I wanted to take that a step further and then have a pre-filter set up so I could also remove fluoride. This only does a little bit of fluoride. That filter lasts about 6,000 litres. If you buy a filter around this size, just for fluoride, usually it's only about 2,000. So you need 3 of these to remove fluoride. And what I'm wanting to show you is the difference between having to go to reverse osmosis and simply just using the right pre-filters with this machine, and then you have the absolute best water in the world. And so with a pre-filter setup, what you can do as well, if you've got a machine like this, or if you're thinking, okay, trying to visualize how it's going to look and how it's going to set up, I'll give you a quick demo. So essentially, tap water only comes out of this tap, whereas this water here goes into the machine and then the drinking water comes out the top. Now this water is actually going first through these 2 pre-filters here. One is purely for fluoride, and this is a new version of a fluoride filter. It does about 6,000 litres, triple what the old ones do. And this one here just enhances what's already in the machine. Instead of the normal carbon, it has catalytic carbon, which lasts a little bit longer and can pull out more than normal carbon. And down the bottom, it has this substance that looks like gold almost, with this, called KDF. And what that does is it increases the lifespan of the whole thing, the whole both filters, by about 30%. And it also adds antibacterial properties to it. So if you're away for a couple of weeks or a month and there's water sitting in the filter, this is able to stop any bacteria growing. There's also some other minerals I put in here, like different types of magnesium and calciums, to enhance how well the machine works. So again, you can buy like a Mercedes car, and it's an amazing car. Or you can pay a little bit extra for an AMG and get some more bells and whistles. This is an amazing machine. I like just to go to the extreme, like Lillian says, with everything that I do, and then really just try and enhance further anything that I see can be improved.
But you might be wondering how this water compares to your filtered water or your tap water or your spring water or your reverse osmosis water or your tank water, bottled water. And of course, Nathan will probably touch on this, but just while he gets himself sorted, bottled water is another huge issue, of course, not just because of the quality of the water and the acidity and the chemicals, etc., but of course we have a huge worldwide plastic problem, don't we? So buying bottled water is not good for our bodies, and it's certainly not good for our environment. Somebody just asked about using it in a hot tub. We actually do have Anagic actually make a fantastic product called Anespa, which is a shower and bath unit. So I actually use that, and I know a lot of people comment on my hair, that my hair is always so shiny, and I really believe, since I've been using the Anespa water, which is like having a Japanese spring bath, you know, it's got all of the beautiful minerals in it and taken out all of the chlorine and nasties out of the tap water, and allows us to really enjoy having a beautiful shower or spa or bath. So that's another product that this amazing company makes. I'm sure Nathan will also talk about some of the other uses of the water other than for drinking. There are actually 6 different types or 7 types of water that this machine actually produces. So not only for drinking water, but also for cleaning, for sanitizing, for our body, for our plants, for our pets. The uses are numerous, and I think Nathan might have sorted himself out. So I will hand back over to you, Nathan, and that was nice to be able to fill that bit of space for you.
So the other test is all about what is water doing apart from being oxidative and full of chemicals. This is a chlorine test. So I want you to think of every time that you wash your hands, you rinse your mouth out, and you're in the shower, anytime water's on your body. So they're all tap water. What I'm going to do is show you, this is chlorine drops, you can get them from any pool store. We'll put 4 in. And as it turns yellow, it's detecting chlorine. So what happens now if I put my fingers in this end one? I want to demonstrate, and it can also apply when you're washing your vegetables. Again, brushing your teeth and rinsing your mouth out with water. That's a very absorbable area, your mucous membranes in your mouth. And especially in the shower when it's very hot and your pores are wide open, the heat is also converting the chlorine to like a chlorine gas, which is also very harmful. So, okay, I take my fingers out. Now let's see what happens when I pop the 4 same drops in. I'm going to do it to this one here, which is basically the reference. So we had one that was out at the same time. Hopefully you can see the difference. I'll try and get some white paper behind it. This one here is where my fingers are in. So why is it not yellow? Well, I absorbed all the chlorine just in that 15-20 seconds of having my fingers in there. So imagine what happens when all those things I mentioned before, that your body's being exposed to chlorine. Where is it going? You're absorbing it. It's disgusting, really. And it's not just chlorine, it's the chloramines. The chlorine that has disinfected or bound onto some other chemical, that's the really dangerous stuff. Not even really chlorine, it's the chloramines. So what's the solution? When I click this button here, and I click this other button, all of a sudden, out this bottom hose is making this amazing substance called hypochlorous acid, the same substance our neutrophils make to kill bacteria. It's about 80 to 120 times more powerful than bleach, more effective than colloidal silver, hydrogen peroxide, iodine, all of them. It has a kill rate of about 5 seconds to 30 seconds. So we then use a spray bottle that we put it in, basically just spray on our hands. And that's used after the toilet, just for disinfecting, for spraying on surfaces, chopping boards. that it dissipates very quickly and kills very quickly. You can use it as a mouthwash. You can spray it on your face. It's amazing for eczema, very good to kill the Staphylococcus aureus. The hypochlorous acid, there's another 200 different studies in the food industry and the waste industry and the water industry of what hypochlorous acid can do, and our machine can make it. We literally just, in this bottom chamber here, add some salt water, and it uses the chloride ion from the salt and makes molecular hydrogen from your tap. It's amazing. And so that's what we're now using to replace all their cleaning chemicals. Anything that needs to remove organic matter, like blood. The other thing that comes out the top as we press that same 2.5 button is this amazing substance called sodium hydroxide in a very small amount. Because it's combined with the electrolytes reduced water, it again has a very synergistic effect. So this means we can emulsify fat. Now, what's the purpose of doing that? Before I spoke about your environment is so important, the food you eat. So the food you eat is usually full of pesticides and herbicides. And unless you're getting organic, and even with organic, we don't know the long-term studies of the organic version of the pesticide. But either way, they spray it in a fat so the rain doesn't wash it off. So when you get it home and you're trying to rinse it off your veggies with tap water, you're only removing about 15% of it, and then you're adding all that chlorine and chloramines into the vegetables. So now we can use water, which again is, I've got some collected. Actually, what I'll do is use oil to do the demonstration. So again, this can be on your face, like you can use it as a makeup remover. You can wash your vegetables, and the studies show that's about up to 87% removed for the pesticides. It'll depend on the vegetable and the pesticide. So what happens usually when you add water and oil? They don't mix right. So let's do the tap water. And you can see, just as expected, the oil is just floating on top. So it's very hard to use water to clean the oils with. What happens when we, actually I'll show you out of the machine, just in case you think I've put something in there. So let's do 2.5. What it's now doing is sucking up some of that salt water, it's actually a bit low, and making the emulsifying water, sodium hydroxide. And you can actually feel it. Your fingers start to go a bit slimy because it's converting the oil in your fingers to a fat, and then it's emulsifying it, creating a sapid like a soap. Okay, so let's take that same oil. You see what's happened? It is emulsifying it and breaking it down. Again, to give you a comparison. So again, this is an amazing substance that we can then use the stove, pans, your face, pesticides from vegetables. We can now use this. It can also be sprayed on any surface really, and it dissipates. So it doesn't just hang around and make things wet. We even had a diffuser diffusing some of the hypochlorous acid, disinfecting the whole area that the diffuser was in. So two amazing features of those two waters that this machine can make when it comes to being able to remove all of your cleaning chemicals and remove all the pesticides. You can now use this machine.
Nathan, can you perhaps just explain how the two taps work? So you showed when there are two taps, so the top tap produces the 11.5 and the bottom tap the 2.5. So yes, with the two taps adding up to 14 pH, just to give people an idea on how we can produce so many different types of water Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I won't really go in and explain it. But inside the machine, it looks like this. It's got, depending on the machine, 8 of these electrodes. Some are negative, some are positive, and it's splitting the water molecules apart. At the bottom comes the difference between 9. So if you click 9 on here, then you're going to get 5 come out the bottom. And so it always usually adds up to 14 because that's what the pH scale is based on. And that's why it's great. We actually, I don't know if you can see it, there's a big tub there in the second sink. And this is full of the water that's coming out the bottom that we then use for our skin. It's around 4.5 to 6 pH, which is perfect for your skin and your veggies. You can basically, water your plants and water your vegetable plants. You can use it to clean floors. Later, I'll just show you some of the other features, like a quick screenshot of what it can be used for. But yeah, you never waste water. And at the top comes the amazing hydrogen water, and at the bottom comes the skin water. Or if you click the disinfecting button, at the bottom comes the disinfecting. At the top, at the same time, comes emulsifying water. So it always has that dual function. It doesn't waste water like reverse osmosis does, which completely removes all of the minerals from the water, making it sterile. And then our body has to balance that and leach minerals from our body to keep it balanced. So reverse osmosis water is really bad. World Health Organization has like a 176-page document showing all these problems and all these studies with reverse osmosis water. So yeah, there's some of the other features that you can use this machine. I guess the other great thing, and I literally just learned this today, or I tested it today. I was watching a video from Panasonic or someone, and they're using a refractometer, which basically you pop water under here and you can see the density of what's inside the water, the concentration of it. And I was like, I wonder what happens if I mix like nutrients or something in tap water versus Kangen water. So I'll show you. And you might notice me slow this down. The more contact time the water has going through the machine over those plates, the higher the concentration of the molecular hydrogen is made. So if you do already have one of these machines, don't run it flat out, let it go slow, and you'll notice it has more molecular hydrogen in there. So I'll keep that one on the left and the tap water one on the right. Okay. So again, I like to improve things all the time, and so I could never find a greens powder that wasn't artificially sweetened, overly sweet, full of fruit extracts that just had lots of sugar, contained lectins like the wheatgrass, the oatgrass, alfalfa, which actually, if you have any compromised gut, they're quite bad for you. And so I ended up just making my own. It's just like an organic blend without any of that stuff in there. So I'm going to use the same amount for both. A flat little teaspoon. Because whenever I've been doing my testing with my patients and this, I've been mixing it with the Kangen water, and I've never actually mixed it with the tap water. So when I did this today and I put a sample under the refractometer, I noticed there was a higher concentration of whatever was being broken down from all of the organic veggies and superfoods in there. Which is a little bit hard to show you on that refractometer, but the cool thing is, Again, this is representing any supplements you take with this water, anything that you're mixing it with, you're getting far greater absorption. So let that slow down. Can you see the color difference? Try and put the light on. Here it's much greener, and here darker. There's probably a little bit less water, so I'll top that up. So it's now equal. But you can just see the color difference. So what's actually happening, all of the nutrients and the flavors and aromas and color molecules are being released from this. And so you're going to get a lot more from it. The video that I watched that gave me the idea was actually making a stock. They had shrimp added to tap water and then shrimp added to the electrolyzed reduced water. And they were testing the strength of the stock. And they noticed that using the refractometer was much higher. More was coming out of the shrimp.
Can't hear you again, Nathan. Sorry.
More was coming out of the shrimp to flavor the water in the electrolyzed reduced water versus the tap water. And that's why one of the waters this has is just 7. It literally, the water comes through the filter, doesn't enter that amazing electrolysis chamber. It just goes through the filter, bypasses the whole chamber, and comes straight out the top hose and the bottom hose. And so that's used for baby formula and medications and CPAP machines. Because if you do drink Kangen water and medication, you can increase the absorption of it, so you mess up the dosages. That's how powerful it is, which is amazing when you're mixing it with things you want more of, like greens and nutrients. So I thought that was a cool thing that I just found out today to show you. Now, before I do the last test, is there any questions on what I've done so far, or would you rather me do them at the end?
I think people are really just enjoying the information so much, Nathan. So maybe do the last test, and then in the meantime, if people could be writing any questions down, because I know, Nathan, you're covering lots and lots of stuff. One thing that I'd love for you to talk about is saving money as well as the environment and our bodies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing now is putting 100 ml of water in each of these. This represents our stomach, because when I spoke to you before about alkaline water versus the Kangen water, and we explained that, yes, they're both around 9.5, but one has the molecular hydrogen, one doesn't. One reduces oxidative stress, one actually increases it, not as bad as tap water. But how does that affect your stomach acid? Because if you go and Google alkaline water, there's a lot of stuff on there of how bad that is. And that really confused me when I first heard about Kangen about 5 years ago. I didn't do enough research from the right places to get the correct information. And I just stopped and thought, okay, that was, I listened to the wrong people virtually. It took a good 6 months of like really reading the ins and outs before I could get it in my head properly. So again, this is just tap water at the start. And we're going to use hydrochloric acid, which is basically used to clean floors in the garage or pool water or something like that. And we're going to use just 1/2 ml. I've got 1.5 ml there. We're going to use 1/2 ml in each. Okay. So now that represents our stomach. To show you the color, which is acidic, which is probably the majority of the bottle of water that you buy is going to be acidic and oxidative, double bad. And again, here's a pH meter. So we can see that the water with the acid is about 1.4 pH. 1.1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.1. Okay, so now we've got a baseline of all the same. So let's now look at, which one shall we use first? Tap water. So tap water, we'll let this go back up. And while that's going up, I might make some bicarb water, which is basically alkaline bottled water. That's how they do it. They get a alkalinity increaser, so sodium bicarbonate, which is usually paying 90 cents for a bottle of spring water. And then they add, this is 2 kilos for like $7 at Bunnings. And they're just adding that to the spring water and then charging you like $4 for 600 ml. So you can see this is pretty similar to the alkaline water. It's actually a little bit less alkaline. So what we're going to do now, the tap water being around 6.7, the bicarb, which is climbing, around 8.1. The Kangen water, around 9.7, 9.8. So for the first, we're going to use the tap water. And we're going to tip it in our body, and our stomach acid is around 1.6. And as we drink that tap water, the pH rises a little bit, around 1.9. So our stomach acid went from about 1.2 to 1.9. Minimal effect. It's not going to be too hard for our stomach acid to get back down to where it needs to be after that. Now let's add the Kangen water. And again, we're starting off around the 1.3 mark. And now we're at about 1.5. 1.3 to 1.5. So also minimal effect. So even though you're drinking 9.5 Kangen water, and some people think it's alkaline water, as you've seen, it barely impacts acid. We're going to the last sample. So if I let it get down, around 1.3. We're now going to use our bicarb water, which is virtually just alkaline water. Look what happened to that. The pH is now at 7.4, 7.5. That's the impact of drinking a lot of alkaline water on your stomach, which is not good because now your body has to try and get that back down. But isn't that great that the Kangen also at 9.5, because it's made completely different, it doesn't have added bicarbonates in it. It's done through nature, like the lightning hitting the water and splitting the water molecules. We're just using power to give electrons to the water to do the same thing. That we can drink that water full of all those amazing antioxidants, and it doesn't affect our stomach pH. So again, hopefully that gives you a very good visual that you can drink as much 9.5 as you like, and you can treat it the same as normal water when it comes to how much to drink before meals, after meals. If you can drink a certain amount of tap water before meals, you can do the exact same thing with Kangen water. You don't have to go down to a lower pH. You can get all the molecular hydrogen without having to worry that it's 9.5. The reason why, it doesn't have a high alkalinity. You saw that it didn't even change the acid. And that's because it doesn't have a buffer in it like sodium bicarbonate. So if you've got questions for me on that, I'm happy to answer it. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so now over to you, Lillian, if there's anything else that I can do or answer for people.
Wow, I continue to keep learning as well. It's crazy. I love the way that Nathan puts a scientific twist on the water. I know that when we first started, using it and understanding it, it was all about the alkalinity and the acidity, but there's so much more to this. And when Nathan talks about therapeutic water, there is no other water that does this. And I know for our family, and I'm going to just quickly talk about cost savings, because we are saving so much money. And I'll be totally transparent with you, and I'm sure Nathan will as well. Many years ago, we were introduced to this product 10 plus years ago by some good friends in Melbourne. And when I heard the price of it, I'm like, there's no way I'm paying that for a water filter, because that's what we thought it was, right? We did not understand it, and we didn't give our friends the opportunity to really explain it. But Nathan has even come to the understanding that it's only in more recent years, even though this company is 45 years old, the research has only come into realization in more recent years that really this water is better than anybody ever really understood it was, because we were talking about, alkaline instead of acidity and chemicals, but we didn't understand the therapeutic benefits. So I myself personally am not spending the money I was on all of my antioxidants. I used to take a tub of antioxidants every month that cost me $60 something. So I'm not using those now. I save so much money, no cleaning chemicals or very minimal. I use it as a face wash, cleanser, a mouth rinse. I use it on my skin, my hair, my bench tops, my floors, my mirrors, my plants. I wash my vegetables. So I'm no longer concerned about having to buy more quality produce, as in organic or biodynamic. I just now buy more regular veggies and fruit, and I actually can see what comes out of those when I soak it in the 11.5. So many uses for this water, but Nathan's passion has really come out of the health and wellness benefit, the anti-aging benefit, and the therapeutic benefit of this being so good for our bodies, you know. And Nathan, I once again thank you so much for and I think you did explain very well the difference between alkaline and alkalized now. So if somebody actually says to you, well, we shouldn't be drinking too much alkaline water, then you know you can refer back to this, and you've seen the visual that this is not alkaline, but it's alkalized, which is a big difference. So are there any other questions before we finish up, or anything that anybody else would like to know or that they weren't sure about? Just while you're typing those questions in, and Nathan has not asked me to do this, but I'm going to give a little plug anyway. So anybody who is interested, if you are currently using one of these machines and you would like to filter out the fluoride and other chemicals, please do contact myself or Nathan, and he can share with you how you can get hold of his Duo pre-filter set. And I know if you are using a pre-filter set from anywhere else, this is way more economical and effective. And also hold up your greens powder, Nathan. So Nathan also, with a friend of his, makes this amazing greens powder, which I've been using for quite a while now. And he can actually even make, you know, specialised formulas. For example, he's done one for my dad for cognitive benefits. So yeah, that's another great product that Nathan has produced. So let's just see if there were any questions. Please, yes, please share more info on the greens powder. So perhaps Nathan, when we send out a follow-up email, and what we'll do is we'll just edit this video because it was recording at the start and I didn't realise. We'll edit it and we'll get it out ASAP. And Nathan, perhaps you can share, just hands up or comment in the comments if you would like Nathan to share a little bit more about the greens powder and the pre-filters in our follow-up email. Perhaps we could do it that way. And I know many people invited friends along that couldn't watch this live. I had people, you know, message me to say I'm in a different country or I can't get on live. So they will receive the recording in the next 24 hours as soon as we can make that happen. Yes, and we'll share that info about the greens and the pre-filters. So let's see if there are any other. Yes, somebody's mentioned pets. Our beautiful puppy, Hazel, she has had nothing but this water. And she's about 18 months old now, so she loves the Kangen water, unless she's out and about. Let's just see if there are any other questions. Water is the essence of life. Without it, we shrivel up and die. Very right there, Lynn. I can't see any other questions. I'd like to know more about the greens, interested in the pre-filter and the greens. Do you need pre-filters for rainwater? That's a good question, Alicia.
Okay, so if you're on tank water, you want a sediment filter to make sure that any dirt and sand and anything that's non-biological will be filtered out. And then bacteria can grow in the tank. If you're in a city area, the rain is made up of whatever's in the environment. So you still want to filter out all of the heavy metals and any of the iron or copper from the pipes or the roof. So yeah, they're the areas that you still want to filter out on tank water or rainwater.
So Nathan, maybe to turn that question around, are there any circumstances where you would not benefit from the pre-filter set or not need it?
Only if you lived in an area that didn't have any fluoride, heavy metals, and you never went on holidays or left the filter, you know, for weeks at a time for stuff to grow in it.
Okay. So any other just quick tips on using the machine? Because we have a few people on the call this evening who are currently using it. I know you talked about running the water very slowly, but maybe just touch on that a little bit, because that's really important, and that's something we weren't told initially, and we've only found out through Nathan's research.
So why you run it slowly as I said before, if you run it fast, the contact time as the water's flowing over those plates, the plates are actually ripping apart the molecules and restructuring it. So you've got the molecular hydrogen and the hydroxide molecule, which is why it detects it as a 9.5 pH. Now, the purpose of drinking that water is to get as much of that hydrogen as possible. So if you can slow it down, so you're filling about 1 liter per minute, that's perfect. You're going to get the most out of it as possible. Now think of the plates as the water's running over them. If they've calcified because of other minerals in the water, just basically over time adhering to the electrodes of platinum, this has got titanium platinum dipped plates, then each morning you can hit the pH 6 button, and what that does is it reverses the polarity. So while one was negative on one side and one was positive on the other side, the minerals that had a positive charge and the minerals that have a negative charge, because on the positive plate, the negative minerals go. On the negative plate, the positive minerals go. So when you click 6, it swaps that around and the minerals break off and they start to go across to the other side. But because you're only running it for a minute, it then flushes all those out of the machine. And so effectively what you're doing is keeping those plates as clean as possible, able to produce as much molecular hydrogen, which is why it's also very important that at least once a month you're doing the e-clean, which virtually means this little container in here, you're putting citric acid in it, letting the machine suck up the citric acid over an hour or so, and then it's cleaning those plates and it flushes it all out. That's some really good maintenance tips of to get the best out of the machine. I mean, some people buy a car and they get it serviced once a year. Other people get it serviced every month. And so it just depends on what performance and lifespan you want out of it, because you can have that for 15 to 20 years. And the most amazing thing is with that machine, the warranty is 5 years, but before it expires, you can pay to get an extended 3 years ongoing. So you can once you've gone past your 5 years, every 3 years, it's like only $300 or something plus GST, pay for another 3 years. What machine can you have continual warranty on? I don't know of anyone else that can do that.
And this is a machine, Nathan, that will be a part of your household for 15 to 20 years. I know that.
To give you an example of like the savings, like when I'm seeing patients, I'm always in solution mode. So first thing I say is it's all about the mindset and the environment. But the main thing is if you've got a problem and you want me to help you fix it, you've got to give me permission to help you work out how to do it. Of course, there's going to be objections and obstacles in the way, but there's always a solution. And so that's about $6.40 a day. But if you're a solution-oriented person and you're like, well, how can I make that cheaper? I worked out that, again, everything's referenced. We spend on average $1.35 a day on cleaning chemicals from all different areas of the house, which you can then make for free. So that's $1.35 saved. So now it's only $5 a day. If you just stop buying 1 bottle of water every time you went to the servo, to the movies, where you're paying like $2 or something a bottle, if you just did that once a day and between a whole household of you, surely 1 a day can be saved. That's another $2.70 that can be saved. Now it's only costing you $2.30. If you've got a coffee drinker in the house and you need coffee to feel energized, but you're going to feel energized drinking this, and you cut out 1 coffee a day, on average, coffee now, since 2018, is $4.18. So you cut that coffee out and now you're saving $1.88 per day. So it costs you more money not to have this machine than to have it.
That's awesome, Nathan. I love that. There was a question back up here about tank water. We're on tank water and we also get town water. If our tank water is full of just rainwater, we do have to add a chemical so the machine works. Can you explain to people watching why I would need to do this?
Because the machine needs minerals to create electrolysis, there is a mineral cartridge in there. And basically it's just a form of calcium that you add to it. But that's why my pre-filters I add in additional minerals to make the process work even better. I've not tested it on tank water to see if you would not need to add the mineral to the machine anymore, but that's why. That's why you can't connect a reverse osmosis system directly to this unless you've got another cartridge that's adding minerals back in, because it needs the minerals to basically create the electrolysis. It can't make it from dead water. You are turning dead water to living water again, but it needs those minerals in there in the first place.
Did that answer your question, Shannon? Okay. Okay, I think we've pretty much covered all of the questions. So we will have this recording available, as I said. So thank you to everybody who jumped on live tonight and to those people who are now listening to the recording. A huge thank you to Nathan, not just for your time this evening, Nathan, but for the, I don't know, hundreds of hours of research that you have put in to this. I still remember when I bought home a machine and told Nathan I'd bought it, he was a little bit, not cranky, but, oh, what have you spent all that money for? And he wasn't even all that interested in it initially until he started drinking it, which he loved. And then he started researching it. And he seriously would not talk to one person about it until he had done all of the scientific research. And I don't mean on Google, I mean the scientific, Club Med, scientific type research that he's done. Hundreds of research papers he's read, and he tests and measures everything. So thank you for all of that time, Nathan, for doing that for your own knowledge and benefit, but also sharing with us all tonight. So let's all say thank you to Nathan. I'm sure everybody is really, really grateful to Nathan for this information. And let's do this again, right? Who really enjoyed this evening? Yeah, we'll have the recording to share, but we'll do this again, and maybe we'll have some different questions, and maybe Nathan can share a few different things with us, because I know he is always learning. So thank you, everybody. Once again, enjoy the rest of your evening, and until next time, cheers.
And for those who will check their email, there's one thing I didn't mention. I'm going to pop a tip on there that's going to triple the lifespan of your molecular hydrogen as you're drinking it.
Oh, triple. That's a good tip. Okay.
Actually, way more than that. But yeah.
Okay, I look forward to that one. Okay. Thanks, Nathan. Good night, everybody.